more than 5,000 people are living in IDP camp that they do not even have access to quality water, quality health care. And government alone cannot do all this. And that is the essence why we come in, to render our own intervention, especially for young girls that are living in the IDP camp, to provide them opportunity to have access to education.
In many of Africa's conflict zones, the greatest danger is not only the violence, it is the silence between broken systems and forgotten people. Guns may decide battles, but negotiations decide whether civilians eat, whether children are vaccinated, and whether aid reaches those who need it most. This is where humanitarian negotiation begins, not in conference halls, but in fragile conversations with armed groups, local power brokers, community leaders, and governments, all to secure one simple thing: access to human life. But here is the uncomfortable truth. So often, decisions about Africa's conflict zones are made far from the communities living inside them. Agreements are signed about people, not with them. And when local voices are excluded, peace becomes temporary, aid becomes fragile, and conflict returns. My name is Omevi Idolor, and I'm saying welcome to Just Africa on Silk News Television. I am not doing this alone. I have Emmanuel Amulo with me, my favorite person.
You had to, if you had not added that part, I would not even say anything into this conversation. Hello, Lagos. Hello, Nigeria. Hello, Africa. It's a wonderful day to start the week with this kind of conversation, because essentially we want to let people see that there's more side to our story, and not all of them are good, right? But we need to elicit empathy from our people. We need people to understand that others are going through a lot, and you are probably in a better position than somebody else. You just need to be empathetic to that person, even if you cannot give aid, you can give some form of support. And that's what a lot of people need. Most of the conflicts that arise on the continent are things that are avoidable. If we can just sit down and see the other person as a human being first, and then we now understand that, oh, let me do to this person what I want him to do to me in return. That way, some of the disagreements that we have can be resolved or even avoided completely.
Yes, that is it. So today we are talking about a different approach, one that recognizes that people in conflict zones are not just victims, but negotiators, mediators, and survivors. Traditional rulers, women leaders, youth groups, faith leaders, and community elders often understand the terrain of conflict better than anyone else. When they are included, trust rebuilds faster, aid moves safer, and peace lasts longer. Fixing Africa's conflict zone is not about imposing solutions. It is about negotiating access, sharing power, and building peace from within. Because lasting peace cannot be deployed. It must be negotiated, and it must be local. To help us unpack this rigorous topic is Dr. Oluwasegun Oguns. I hope I pronounced that well. He is a project manager at Bellwether International, Rotary Positive Peace Activator, and Certified Humanitarian Negotiation Facilitator, CCHN Geneva. Dr. Oluwasegun has worked extensively across Nigeria's displacement and post-conflict communities, using dialogue and interreligious collaboration to rebuild local trust. His experience bridges academic depth and on-the-ground peace practice, offering practical solutions for Africa's fragile states. Hello, Dr. Oluwasegun. Welcome to Just Africa.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I think it's a privilege for me to be on the call here for these important discussions. And I really want to appreciate Mr. Emmanuel, if I'm correct, for the introduction, for inviting me for these important discussions. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. So let's go straight to the conversation. Many people hear the phrase humanitarian negotiation and don't really understand what it means. So, in simple terms, what is humanitarian negotiation and why does it matter in conflict areas?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. As an individual, for me, I have the privilege of working in the humanitarian space because I currently work for Bellwether International as a project manager for at least 4 to 5 years now to support people, especially those in the IDP camp and in Benue States. I've worked in Benue States, in Plateau States, in Kaduna States, and the IDP camps around those places. And from a lived experience, we've have a lot of issues, especially on how to, approach the community, approach those that are being affected by conflicts and also displacements. And the process of bringing in humanitarian negotiation is very important when someone is trying to work with people who are being affected by conflicts, who are living in conflict zone, living in places where as individuals, human, it's not that really conducive, to live in those places. And that is why humanitarian negotiation need to come in, especially as an NGO, as an humanitarian actor who need to render support, interventions for the people who are being displaced. And looking at what humanitarian negotiation means, it's for a layman definition, it's all about dialogue. It's all about involving the people, involving people who have been affected by conflict and even those who commit the conflict. And when we talk about those who commit the conflict, we are talking about those involved in the conflict. For instance, probably bandits. We have cases where which is something happening in our country, where we say, why should the government negotiate with bandits? As an humanitarian negotiator, for us to go in, especially to zones that are mostly affected, you need to negotiate even with those that commit the conflicts or with those who need to get access to, for example, the community leaders, the religious leaders, the stakeholders, especially when we are trying to plan intervention, you need to negotiate, and in everything we do, even if you want to buy something, you need to negotiate, you need to talk. You can't just go to the market and you buy something. You need to understand the price and if it's okay for you. And that is what humanitarian negotiation means. It's about a systematic or a systemic approach where humanitarian actors have a talk or dialogue with conflict actors, with stakeholders.
Okay, I wanted to ask, what happens when this kind of negotiation fails in those conflict zones?
Sometimes not all discussions are successful, and whereby we have to go back because you can't use force in coming to places where you want to render help or you want to render intervention. So in that case, we need to go back and try to re-strategize, and look at probably our negotiation plan or our humanitarian negotiation plan was faulty. Probably we didn't meet the right actors, to talk to. Then we re-strategize our steps, we re-strategize who to meet, and then we work on probably we need to bring in an external force, probably someone who is more associated with that environment or with that area, or probably a local person who is a very notable someone in that environment. We bring the person as part of our team, to negotiate and also to try to bring about intervention for the people.
Okay.
All right, doctor. First off, because look, these days are not something that we hear everybody say they want to wish to do in the first place. What led you to begin to do humanitarian causes like this?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Manuel. Actually, looking at my background, I love supporting people, especially the vulnerable people.
Okay.
women, children. Formerly, I was a Teach for Nigerian fellow. It's a network that belongs to Teach for All. We have Teach for America, we have Teach First UK, we have Teach for Ghana, we have Teach for Zimbabwe, Pakistan, and so on and so. And it's all about bridging education inequality in Nigeria.
Okay.
So from there, my career migrated. I go on, to be employed by Bellwether International, who look into genocide prevention. In Bellwether, we work in different countries. We work in Iraq, in the United Kingdom, in the US, in Nigeria, in Liberia, and also in other parts of the world, especially in the Asia country. So it's all about giving people that hope of rendering intervention to them. And why I got to go very into peace building is because of the passion for the people, especially those living in the conflict area, in low income communities that they do not. Yeah, thank you.
So when you're, I mean, I'm assuming that you've been in conflict zones before, right? What are the common things that you see amongst them in their way of lives, especially the victims?
Okay, yes. I remember in 2022 and 2023, our organization partnered with an NGO in Plateau States, in just precisely the name of the organization, I think is Stephanos Foundation or something. And we went for an IDP intervention program for girls that are being displaced, because mostly girls, women are the most affected.
Vulnerable,
and they live in IDP camps. They don't have access to education, a sustainable livelihood. And the kind of life they live is that they are exposed, to gender-based violence. They are exposed to, different atrocities, using them for different, crimes that I cannot mention online here. And for this reason, their life, is, when you go there, you will shed tears, because when we get there, more than 5,000 people are living in IDP camp that they do not even have access to quality water, quality health care. And government alone cannot do all this. And that is the essence why we come in, to render our own intervention, especially for young girls that are living in the IDP camp, to provide them opportunity to have access to education. So we engage in these, programs, and also provide relief materials to them. And so we continuously do this. And majorly is the idea of genocide prevention, which is our mission as an organization. Because as we all know, in Nigeria, we have these issues of genocide, these issues of atrocity committed on particular set of people, especially in Benue State, especially in
the Plateau.
Let me just say the Middle Belt.
The Middle Belt. Okay.
Let me just take them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Oluwasegun. Now, in all your travels and places you've been to, I know you have seen how some of these aid agencies work. What are some of the gaps that you have also noticed when they are dealing with local actors?
There are a lot of gaps, especially when it comes to you are working in a raw field. This is not an office work, because you are meeting people who have, passed through trauma. When I talk about trauma, people who have seen their relatives die. You have seen people who have seen death face to face. And, for you to come in and say you want to render help, it takes a lot of programs, it takes a lot of actions that as an individual you need to work on. And I'll give you an example. I remember, because all what I'm saying is it's not theory. They are practical things. They are things that I experience when working with people that are being displayed. And one of the challenges we face is, number one, is the insecurity issue. When we went for our intervention in Benue State, when we were in the camp, we received an alert that there is an attack in another IDP camp. So it was difficult for us to really have a strong negotiation with the camp managers. We have camp managers, we have people who are working in the camp, we have volunteers, teachers. So it was difficult to really have a proper dialogue with the people at the camp there. And also another challenges that we face, that I face specifically, is the issues of trust among people who we are dialoguing with, especially with the camp officials and also the local communities, because of probably, as corruption is everywhere. So they just want to get money. Even before you do anything, you have to pay them. You have to, give out something. And this, yeah, you have to give out something before you can come in, because they believe that we come in here, probably we are bringing dollars, we are bringing money, maybe we are politicians. So it really brings about this gap. It really creates issues in our successful implementations of programs. So what we have to do is to try to convince them that we are not politicians or we are not from the government, because they believe that probably we are from the government and we are bringing more money, to share to them. And this creates the issue of trust, corruption, and other, internal issues, in trying to make sure that our negotiation is successful.
Okay, so you talked about being in one camp and an attack is happening in another camp, and you got the alert. In that situation, when that kind of alert comes, what do you do? Hearing that there is an attack going on and you're in another camp, at that moment, what's the next step?
At that moment, there's need for you I've lived in I've seen issues attack and series of conflicts, not just on books, not just in the classroom. And at that moment, since I'm a Nigerian, so it's not that I'm a white man, or it's not that maybe I'm an expert from that country. I just have to comfort myself with my team. And at that moment, we didn't go out because we were in the camp, because it's more dangerous for us to leave the camp, because we might meet the militants, the Fulani heads militant, because that is usually the case that are in the middle belt part of Nigeria. So we just have to hold on, and there is need for us to call the security personnel, that is the Nigerian police, because this thing really happened in the distance from Makurdi, and Makurdi is the capital of Benue State. Now, the camp that we are is not far from Makurdi, the state capital. So there was a quick response from the state, from the police, that is the security personnel, in response to the attack. So we never leave the camp when the attack was ongoing. We just have to wait to ensure that everything has, calmed down. So that was what we did.
Wow.
Thank you, Doctor. You mentioned something about genocide prevention, right? Essentially, it's how to avoid conflict, some kind of conflict. Are you trained, or is there some form of way you can tell when a conflict is about to happen? What are there signs that you get to see? Because it's good if we also know, so that even we too are not trained per se, but we to avoid it before it gets to that pinnacle.
All right, thank you so much, sir. In my organization, in Ben Weather International, we mostly do what we call a monthly training for the staffs, since we work in the field. It's not that we work in the office.
Okay.
We go to the field. So we have kind of a monthly training that the organization management train us on, especially on conflict sensitivity. That's what we call conflict sensitivity. Now, conflict sensitivity simply means the process of identifying the likelihood that a conflict will happen and taking action, which is called early warning sign. Early warning sign is just for you to be able to know this is going to happen. There is going to be an attack. There's going to be a conflict. There is an insecurity. You understand?
Yes.
So we conduct this, and also with this our tool, we call it security assessment. Before we go to any camp or before we go to any field, we firstly reach out to the people living in the camp or living in that community, because we have what we call a focal person. They will give us the updates, even together with security personnel that we have to conduct or reach out to. They give us an update before we go, out, for any intervention or any humanitarian programs. So we engage in training from our organization. We reach out to the people we want to, that we want to render our intervention for. Also, with the help of the security personnel, the Nigerian police, they also give us updates, kind of a regular update in case if there is going to be an attack, or if there is an insecurity or incident of attack or kidnapping or whatsoever. Yeah.
So, I mean, how best can you now teach those of us that are not in your organization? Because the truth is, to be able to spot a conflict that is about to start can actually solve a lot of problems rather than you being in there. We know there are some of them that start suddenly. But, I mean, if you can identify some small pockets of ideas or something, maybe you're in a place and you say, maybe a conflict about to start, what signs do you see? If you can teach us some of those ones so that we too can avoid it before they start or we get caught in the crossfire.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. As an expert, even if you are not an expert, even for the community that we render support or we render our intervention, we also engage them in this learning how to identify conflicts.
Okay.
And how do you identify conflicts? I'm going to say this in a practical aspect. Let's just forget about the academics now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when working in our intervention program in Iwajowa. Iwajowa is a local government in Oyo State. In 2023, September precisely, towards February, March 2024, we had an intervention program for elders farmers in that community in Oyo State. And when we were doing our intervention program for the community, for the elders, that is the Fulani and the
local farmers,
elders and the Awusas and the Yoruba, local farmers there. At the point of when we were doing our programs, there was an attack on a farmer in his land, and that man was killed at that moment. We were having our workshop, and this thing happened. At that moment, there was confusion because we have the other actors, like the Fulanis, the Yorubas. The Fulani or elders has killed a farmer. And at that moment, you can know that there can be a retaliation.
Yes.
What we do at that time is to calm the atmosphere. Even the elders that were part of our programs have to leave because it can create tension at that moment. So later on, we have to organize, another intervention program for them on how to identify conflict. And one of them is when there is a disagreement, especially in an environment that is already prone to attack, or in an environment that there is already likelihood, because there is what we call low, medium, and high level risk environments.
Okay,
so
yes.
At that moment, we have to identify if there is going to be an attack. We have to inform you, we have to train the people. We are not living with them. They understand themselves better than us. So we have to identify what are the likelihood that conflict can occur or an attack can occur. And this can come in form of disagreement, maybe on resources, just like the case of elders, farmers, the issues of farming, in the issues of water and stuff like that. So they identify this, especially if you are in an environment of elders, farmers conflict, because violence or conflict comes in different ways. I'm just citing elders, farmers as an example. Okay? So as an individual, you need to firstly identify the causes. What can bring this violence conflict in the community? What can trigger it? There's what we call things that trigger, and that can be aggressive of not agreeing on a particular thing or trying to settle for something and there was no. So this is something that is very important for one to know. Even if you are in the market and you discover that, oh, people that are here, they are so, kind of aggressive, they are not comfortable for them to resolve things, there is likelihood that conflict can happen. So as an individual, you have to leave that environment so that you'll not be, you'll not be found in the middle of
A
the
victim,
conflict.
yes,
So
yes.
I was very important, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor. So some people worry that talking to armed groups gives them power or recognition. So how do you talk to these groups without supporting violence? Hello, Doctor. Okay. Okay, the network.
Did you just flip the screen?
The network is.
But that's a very, very valid question. Because I know you mentioned it as if, for example, when that example they gave, and then he said they now had to create another workshop for the headers that just created the problem somewhere else.
Okay, all right. Doctor is back. Hello, Doctor.
Okay. So, yeah, can you hear me?
Go on, yes.
Did you get a question?
Yes, I do. Okay. Oh, no. Can you just recap?
Okay. Yes, I was saying that some people worry that talking to armed groups gives them power or recognition. How do you talk to these groups without supporting violence? Like you may using the
Hada Farmers example.
As an example, or federal government trying to talk to bandits, negotiate with bandits, and people feel, no, it's not good. How do you do this without supporting violence?
Thank you so much, ma'am. In the International Red Cross humanitarian law, there is what we call the principles. There's what we call principle of one. I think we have 3 or 4. We have impartiality, we have neutrality, we have independency or something. So as an organization, we are a neutral organization. We never support neither the bandits or anybody. We are neutral. And the reason why we are neutral is we want to render help for the people who are affected by conflicts. Because you just have to find a way to reach out to the vulnerable people. We have people dying there. We have a lot of people who are being displaced. We can live in our own comfort home here, in our offices, enjoying the atmosphere, but there are people there dying, and they need someone to come over. They need people to come to render help, because if not, they are going to, perish there. So, as an organization, we never support or we never promote criminality, but rather we are looking forward or looking for a way of ensuring that the programs or the intervention we are bringing in for the people have been delivered correctly. They are not in the wrong hand. For example, we are bringing food items, educational materials, trauma healing programs, and every other important things that these people need, humanitarian needs. It has to get to the people. And how does it get to the people when the roads is blocked? There's no way. Then you need to negotiate, especially with the people, especially with the conflict actors, the actors there, not just the bandit or the people who committed the crime, but even with the people, because it goes beyond negotiating with the bandit or negotiating with people committing the crime. And the essence for us doing that is to try to let them know that we are not here to create chaos, but we are here to bring peace for the local community affected by the conflict. So we have to talk to them, and they have to realize, because for every criminal, there is this iota of humanity in them.
Yes.
There is still that feeling that, yes, it depends on how we negotiate. If you go there with violence, definitely they will respond with violence. If you go there in peace and let them know that this is what we are bringing, definitely they will accept.
But what happens when one side no longer trusts your neutrality?
In that case, for the safety of you as an actor, you have to withdraw.
Okay.
If there is already a conflict, yes, you have to withdraw. Or else you might be catch in the web of the whole fire. So as an organization, we do not go because our life is also at risk.
Exactly.
And for you to continue, because it is those who are alive that can do humanitarian work, or that you can say, oh,
True.
I still want to give out to these people, I still need to reach out. So you need to secure life, your own life also. And that is what my boss always said, that Shegun, be careful, because she's an American. Well, of course, we have to be careful, and you have to understand that when conflict is high, I remember when that happened in our intervention program in Oyo State, in the Wajowa local government. When that happens, and I gave my report to my boss, he said, I hope you are okay. She's an American. She said, I hope you are okay. Because your life matters also, so that you will not be catch in the web of. And if there is an insecurity, we don't go out at that time, because you cannot claim to be a Superman. You don't claim that in humanitarian work.
I want to follow up from the last conversation we are having. I know your guy say people should save your heads. Whenever, essentially that's what it is. Before you see anything, save your head first. Your safety is important. But how do you now calculate your success in events like that if you have to escape from a place where the thing is going to most likely cost you your life?
As an humanitarian worker, it is very, very important for you not to, just like what I said, that to claim Superman when you know that going to the very dangerous, because it is those who survive the war will be the one that will share the story.
Tell the story. You need to tell the story.
The story to the world. So in that aspect, your life is very, very much important than any results.
Okay.
And you don't just try to claim that, you have to get this done. When you know that your life is at risk, and even your team, you can't put them in danger. When you know that, so calculating success, your life is a success already.
Yeah.
So you don't claim you are trying to, maybe you are trying to get promotion, or you are trying to get favor, then you are endangering your life.
Promotion.
We don't work in that way.
Yeah.
We don't work in that way, sir.
Okay, so doctor, essentially I'll assume that one of the criteria will be you'll be insured. Because there are some times when even if you try, right, you might just get caught in the crossfire. Is insurance of a humanitarian officer enshrined as a guarantee before you get into these places?
Of course, in every, before you take a contract, I remember when I took my job, the contract, I can't really remember. Mostly it's always stated that you work in environments or community that is prone to diseases, that
yes.
is prone to, to conflicts,
violence, yes.
that is highly, So before you sign the contract, just like our soldiers in Nigeria, you have signed a life that you understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
And that is the reason why when we work in all this zone, in all this conflict zone, we have to be very, very careful, very highly sensitive. Even you yourself, you must see yourself as part of the community that needs protection, because you don't know who and who, can, and because that is not your community. I'm a Yoruba man. I'm going to a community that I don't even understand their language. Yeah. Or I'm in the middle, or in a place where their culture, their value is totally different. Then I will still need to look after my own welfare. I need to look after my own safety and the safety of my team. So in working in the humanitarian sector, especially those on the field, you have to ensure your life, before anything, your life is very important. It's very, very important. Don't claim to be a Superman, or don't claim to be an hero. You understand?
Yes.
So that is the way we operate.
All right, doctor. So why is it important to include local leaders and communities in humanitarian negotiations?
Thank you so much, Ma. including local leaders, religious leaders in our negotiation, in our humanitarian negotiation is very important. When you look at these are leaders, they are people who have followers at their back. They understand their people more than we that are coming in to render intervention. And there is what we call this respect. They command respect. They command, whatsoever they say, the followers follow them. I remember when we went to Benue State, because I always make a reference to Benue because we are more, mostly operate there. When we went to the IDP camp there, before we do anything, we first have to reach out to the camp manager. We can't just walk in and say, oh, we want to start rendering help or trying to negotiate with the IDPs. It is not done in that way. So we have to reach out to the camp manager because the IDP camp is just like a community. It's a community on its own. So before we get in, they are the gatekeeper. And whatsoever, if they didn't allow us to go in, there's no way we can operate or to render intervention. So the essence why the community leaders, religious leaders are included in our humanitarian negotiation is to make our work very, very easy.
Okay.
When we have the community leaders, we talk to them, then they have a better map of situations, in their community, where conflict is, where we should not go, where we should go, stuff like that, the kind of help the people really need, even if we are trying to do our pre-survey, there's what we call pre-survey to understand the current situations of the people. They give us idea, then they help us in mobilization of the beneficiaries, people who really need the humanitarian intervention. Yeah. And when they do this, they also help us in planning, in designing, in the implementations of our program. So without the community leaders, our humanitarian intervention might not be successful if we do not really get them involved. And we want them to take ownership. When I say ownership, because when we leave the camp or we leave the community, but how will the program be localized? It is these community leaders who we trust, who we depend on to help us, in our humanitarian work. So that is some of the essence why we need the community leaders in our humanitarian negotiation. And I want also to create, for us to know this, humanitarian negotiation is not just about dialogue. Okay. It's not just only on dialogue. It's part of our humanitarian process, our humanitarian intervention. So it's not just talk. It goes beyond that. It's about action. It's about working together with the people.
Mm. Okay, so what usually goes wrong when local voices are left out?
There is what we call impositions of ideas or impositions of value, which doesn't go well when we are trying to bring, I'm trying now, for example, I live in Lagos and I'm trying to go to, let's say, for example, I'm going to Kano. I'm bringing my idea of Lagos as an imposition of the people, and the people don't like it. It's not part of their value. Then what I'm bringing will fail. It will fail. In humanitarian negotiation, there is what we call localization. Localization, I've said this before, it's about people taking ownership. We are just bringing this to them. Look at this. Is this thing fit to your people? Is this thing fit in? Will it really help? Is this what really your people really need? They'll look at it. If they say, oh, this, we should try to adjust it. We listen to them because they know what is really paining them. For example, in a community that really need water, they need water. That is their problem. And you go ahead to make solar panel for them. At the end of the day, those solar, they will take it and sell it and use it to buy food or use it to buy water. Because it is not solar panel or solar system they need. What they need is water. So the people who we are trying to support, we need to understand them. We understand them that this is what they need. Then afterward, we allow them to take ownership in terms of this is our issue. We are just going to guide them through and let them, okay, this is the way it should be. Okay, we make them part of our team, for us to really have a successful implementations of our programs.
Okay, so doctor, I know some of the challenges that you probably have is when as a humanitarian worker, you want to pass on your ideas or your policies or your suggestions to people, and you have to take cognizance that these people interpret it differently, especially based on gender, right? For example, you are in a conflict zone and you want to pass a general information, but you have to pay attention to the fact that there are more women or more children or more men. How do you ensure these are taken care of so that your message hits everybody and you get the required results that you set out to meet?
That is the place where the community leader comes in. Because at the time, we can't reach out to everybody at a time. Maybe in a population of 10,000 people living in a community or living in IDP camp, it's very difficult for you to, reach out to everybody, including the women. So what we do is to work with the camp manager, for example, that is the IDP manager or community leader, in terms of selection of household leaders in each household, and also involving women leaders who are very prominent in the communities. So we're kind of doing working with the community leaders or the camp managers. Then the camp manager help us in kind of doing random selections of household leaders who will ensure that there is a kind of a gender balance. And that is the place where we involve the women leaders, women who are more, taking command, then it really helps us to reach out to wider, to ensure we have a gender balance so that nobody is left behind. Just like what I said, it's kind of little bit tricky. When you have overflowing or highly populated community, it's very difficult for you to really reach out to everybody. So then we have to work with the community leaders, the camp managers, then work with each household leaders, then also work with women leaders, to ensure that nobody is being left. So that's the way we operate. And I think we did same, when we went to Benue State, when we're trying to conduct a survey and also distribute reliefs, materials to the people in IDP camp in Makurdi, Benue State.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. This question is very important to me because
Don't worry.
When it comes to women, I make sure I take it a little bit personal. So oftentimes, I know you've mentioned women leaders, but women are often missing from negotiation spaces. From your experience, what changes when women are included?
So in our programs, we've been involving women as part of our negotiators, facilitators, because we conduct seminars, workshops for local communities, whereby we always involve women. One of the ethics of my boss is a woman. She always made mention of inclusion of women. Anytime we are trying to do on any humanitarian work, she always said, Segun, put women. We need to involve women. And that has also been part of me. So any programs we are doing, we involve women in our programs. And because women always bring this motherly affection, especially when a time of aggressiveness or when there is high tension. Women are like water, whereby when you pour them on fire, they quench it. Or when their environment is so hot, when women speak, people listen. So we engage women in our programs. I remember the program we had in Oyo State. We had women as part of our training. I think we have 2 facilitators or so. Then we involve women as part of our facilitators, to ensure there is a gender, even if it's just 60-40, but at least it closes the gap, when women are being involved in our programs. So women are definitely well included in our work.
Can some of your work be taught in schools so that at least we start to groom children to learn some of the things that you do? Like catch them young, as they say.
How to negotiate.
Yeah, how to negotiate.
Yes, I think in Nigerian curriculum there is peace. I don't know if it has really been implemented. Peace education. I don't know if it's fully implemented in
Not none
primary
of
and
my,
secondary
you know,
level, but of
maybe
course,
it's in civic education, but I don't think
yes,
any of
I
my kids
think
have
maybe just a
said
thought.
anything like that. Yeah.
What can be included as part of subjects, especially when it comes to the aspect of, I'm trying to look at the interfaith dialogue, whereby we want to bring about social cohesion between the Christian, between the Muslims, and also the different ethnic Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, and every other ethnic group. Of course, it can be taught because it's also part of what we do, in terms of interfaiths,
Okay.
whereby
Okay.
we involve religious leaders, Christian Muslims, and so definitely it can be taught in schools.
Okay, young people are often seen only as victims. Nobody sees them as any other thing. They see them as troublemakers. What role can young people play in reducing conflicts and supporting peace?
All right, thank you for that question. I think this question is very, very valid because in Lagos State, in Epe precisely, we had a project for young people, for young girls in secondary school specifically, about peace building, about menstrual, about governance, about how they can make their community a better place. And by the time we concluded this project, we had this project in 2014. Yeah, 2014. Yes, we had this project with local youths and also teenagers, specifically in secondary school. And their response about how they can make Nigeria a better place was so superb. Majority of them say yes, they want to be part of the solution in their community. Since some of their communities does not really have the basic social amenities, they say they would love to be a local government chairman. They would love to, get involved in politics in order to, you know, give back to their community, make life a better place for them. So their response was so good, and we believe that when youth are given the real support, not a lip sync or a just talk support, youth will do a better thing. They will
Yeah.
have a better, impact in their community wherever they find themselves. So I believe that youth, because I was also a youth and I was given the opportunity,
Yeah.
to work in this field. So I believe a lot of youth has this potential. I think we just need to have the right support, the right mentorship for many of our millions of youth in Nigeria. There is, we all know that Nigeria, we are not lazy. It's
Yeah.
just that we need the necessary environment, we need the right environment. Nigerians are always, just like what we always say that Nigeria know they carry last. So we don't carry last. And I believe when we give our youth the right support, they can do a lot of things.
All right, doctor. I mean, I like the approaches that we've been using, but in your own assessment, I know you said you've done this for like over 4 years. In your assessment, do you think that government has been doing enough in terms of humanitarian aid? Because we know we had a lot of IDP camps in different parts of the country. Would you say that governments have been doing enough, whether state, local, or federal?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. The government have been doing, to my best of knowledge, and I'm not representing any government or
I know.
anybody.
Yeah, that's why I
And
asked the
this is
question. If I
solely
asked the
my
government
own.
person, I know the answer I was expecting.
So for me, I think the government are not really doing enough because uh, I'll be very frank and I'll be very, very real about the humanitarian intervention we have in Nigeria.
Okay.
As we know that corruption are in every area. Corruptions have go deep. And I'll even use the last these programs by the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, late Muhammadu Buhari, may his soul rest in peace. There is this Empower, program because it's part of the Ministry of Humanitarian something. And for some cohorts or sets of people of the Empower, the former minister, I can't really remember her name, the money meant for the intervention for the unemployed youth there was no account for it. Now, that is for the unemployed youth because it's under the Ministry of Humanitarian and social something. Now, going to those that are living in the IDP camp, if, for example, go to the nearest IDP camp, you can go to the one in Abuja. We have IDP camp in Abuja. I can't really remember the location. We have those in Benue State, we have in the Borno State and every other places where there is camp. The life of the people there, people that are there are really suffering. I've worked in IDP camp and I've seen, when I say hell, there are hell on earth. Most of these camps are experiencing it. I know that the government are pumping money, but the money or the resources is not getting to where it should get to. Maybe just a little drop are being given. So I believe that accountability, transparency, and also trusts are missing in the intervention programs of the government, especially those that are handling the humanitarian intervention. So the government really need to do well in terms of the programs of intervention so that these interventions get to the people that need it.
Okay, so
thank you.
Looking beyond emergencies, how can humanitarian negotiation help bring long-term peace and not just short-term aid?
Yes, looking at the humanitarian negotiation, it does a lot of work because that is what I use. I was certified by Center for Humanitarian CCHNI, Center for Competency on Humanitarian Negotiation in Geneva. And we were told that applications of the various skills or techniques will ensure a successful implementations of programs, of projects, and this has really worked well for me as an individual and even for my organization. Being a certified humanitarian negotiator really helped me, especially working with people that I cannot even speak their language, that I don't understand their values. Working as a humanitarian negotiation and applications of humanitarian negotiation skills brings a kind of understanding, brings people together, brings the actors, the government, stakeholders in planning, in designing, in implementation. And as I said, that humanitarian negotiation is not just only about dialogue.
Yeah.
It is part of a project implementation that can bring sustainable, long-lasting peace to a community. And as we know that where communication is lacking, there's going to be challenges. So humanitarian negotiation bridge that gap between the humanitarian actors and the conflict actors or stakeholders, whereby projects are being implemented. So we cannot run away from negotiating. Every day we negotiate. Every day we dialogue. Every day we come together. We try to ensure things work the way it should work. So continuous dialogue brings about long-lasting peace because it always, identify challenges, brings solution, make things to move forward, things to remain stagnant.
Okay, you also worked with the idea of positive peace. What does positive peace mean and why is it important after conflict?
All right, thank you so much for that very important question. In peace, we have different types of peace. We have positive peace and we have negative peace. For positive peace, it's just about the structure. It's all about the institution. positive peace is not a tangible thing. It's about the structure. In Rotary International and also the Institute for Economics and Peace, IEP, they are the one I think that bring about the idea of positive peace, which has to include a good governance. It has to include freedom from corruption. It has to include a better justice system. It has to include a good democracy that works. These are positive peace. It's different from the negative peace of using war, of trying to force people, to accept your peace proposal.
Yes.
So positive peace, it's about putting the right structure in place. When there is quality education, when there is good livelihood, when there is healthcare system that is working, when there is security, these are structure. When you put all these things, they are positive peace that is needed. And in Nigeria, for example, we need that kind of peace. It's not the kind of peace that today you use force on some people to accept your proposal. That is negative peace because it wouldn't last long. But when you have positive peace, whereby the unemployed youth in Nigeria are given a good job. Corruption, Nigeria is free from corruption. Things will work. When the roads are good, are okay, industries will come, people will come, investors. When our justice system is working, nobody will be denying their justice. Nobody will not just be killed like a chicken when they are sleeping. When the justice system are working, these are, components. I'm just trying to, pick points about this positive peace. And it works in a place where the systems are really good. So we cannot be claiming there is peace in the north when positive peace is not being implemented. We cannot say we have defeated Boko Haram. We cannot say we have defeated bandits. When majority of the people living in the northern part of the country are living below one in a day spending, they are living below $1. You don't expect a place where there is poverty, you don't expect peace to reign there. When the government are doing, when we are doing as a citizen, we are doing the right thing, then there's going to be long sustainable peace, not the kind of peace that we think is a peace. We need positive peace in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor, for that. So looking to the future, how does humanitarian negotiation need to change to match today's conflicts?
Yes, of course, every day things are changing, and even we are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. We see what is happening across the world. We see how governments of the world are involving in, when we say international conflicts, security, Russia, US, China, and the US, and various things are happening. And for me, as an humanitarian negotiation, and also who is adopting the techniques and the principles of the humanitarian negotiation, I think I just have to continue learning. We have to keep learning. We have to keep being part of the process of trying to bring peace, of trying to bring hope for the hopeless, trying to render humanitarian service. So I believe that the use of the humanitarian negotiation need to continue, involving, being part of the solution, not just to talk, but being part of the community that are being, faced with conflict and trying to bring about solution, to the world that we are currently living in.
Doctor, I want to put you on the spot. Share with us one success story or something event that you're a part of that will never leave your mind because you experienced it. Share with us that experience.
Okay, my first project as when I took this job in 2021.
Okay.
At that time, I was a fellow of Teach for Nigeria, and has never implemented a project in my life. And at that time, I was just an ambassador for my organization, Fair Weather International. And there was an issue. I don't know if you are used to Ogun State, Shagam.
Okay,
I don't know
I
if
know
you are used
Shagam.
to
Yes,
that place.
yes.
Okay, good. So we have this, formerly Shagam have experienced inter-ethnic and religious violence in the past.
Okay.
And of course, there will still be an iota of these differences between Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba,
Okay.
and also
Okay.
others, farmers issues. So at that time, my organization, at that time, I was just an ambassador. I was not even employed. So, but she saw my work, someone referred me to her, and she loved what I'm doing. And we said, okay, I discovered that there's an issue in Shagam between the Fulani and the Yoruba, kind of disagreement and stuff like that. So we hosted a kind of a 2-day workshop. First day was to support children in low income community with educational materials, which was very successful. We support children who cannot afford books, educational material. We support them. While the second day, we implemented a project on elders farmers, reducing the impact of conflict between elders farmers in Shagam. So we were able to bring in key stakeholders like the Teriki Fulani in Sabo in Shagam, and also we bring also other key stakeholders in that are Yorubas and also some Awusas together to dialogue on how to foster, because Shagam is known for peace and is known for togetherness of different tribes because of the trade of these kola nuts. If we know the history of Shagam very well, the kola nuts from Kanu to Shagam, stuff like that. So we try to bring about this project of fostering peace between the two groups. We brought about 50 participants, especially the key stakeholders, and it was a very huge success. And that led us to expand our project beyond Shagam, whereby we had a project in Ekpe. We had a project that was after that.
That's
project
one, yes.
led us to going to the north. So if from there it led us working with non-profit CSOs in Plateau State, in Kaduna State, in Benue State, and also in Abuja. Now, this also expanded in 2024. We were able to, because I'm just bringing the success. So I cannot forget that my first project of fostering peace between the various tribes, the Fulani and also the Yorubas in Shagam. So that led it led to many of our projects in Nigeria.
Wow.
All right. A very big congratulations, I must say. Yes. Doctor, if any African leaders or if African leaders were watching right now, what is one thing you would ask them to do differently?
For me, I think what I will ask that leader to do is to help those living in IDP camp.
Okay.
They should, they really need help. When I say help, they are living in a different, some of them don't even know they are living in Nigeria because of the current situations there. So for me, I will say the people living in the IDP camp need our help because they are the one in the middle of conflicts. They are the one facing violence, especially the women and young girls there. A lot of them are really, really suffering. And our leaders need to do more in helping these people who are already in the middle of conflict in Benue State, in Maiduguri, in Borno State, and other parts of the country, that are currently faced with humanitarian crisis.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Oluwasegun. Thank you for coming on the show today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, Doctor, you said you live in Lagos, but where are you from? This is Just Africa.
I'm from Ekiti.
Okay, you are from Ekiti State. So you're going to greet our viewers and our audience using, I don't know the dialect you speak there, but you're going to greet them, you're going to tell them to...
Set up.
You're going to tell them to keep watching Just Africa. You're going to tell them to keep watching Souk News and to subscribe to Souk News in your dialect, not in English. So, doctor, I'm waiting for you. I know the network must work.
Okay, I'm going to speak Yoruba. Let me just use Yoruba, which can bring more audience and more people that can understand what I'm saying. Okay, yeah. So, nísìnyí, ẹ káàsán gbogbo ilé àti àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ alágbàtà wa, àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ tán rí pé sick news ó ń tẹ̀síwájú. Mo fẹ́ lo àǹfààní yìí láti lè sọ fún wa kẹ́ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ subscribe. Tẹ́ bá dẹ̀ ti subscribe ẹ rí pé ẹ share kí àwọn èèyàn kọ́ click kọ́ dẹ̀ máa follow sick news. And also mo fẹ́ kí ẹ rí pé ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ in terms of promoting this láti lè gbé sick news yìí sókè. So ẹ ràn organization yìí lọ́wọ́. Ẹ ṣé gan ni o.
Doctor.
Thank you very much, doctor, for coming on.
All right, thank you so much, doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay.
Doctor helped us to do PR.
That's how it should be,
Yeah.
We're talking about negotiation, peace, and everything. Like he rightly said, it's not all about dialogue. It goes beyond that.
Yeah.
After talking, what next? What are the actions that are?
So that's what makes it sustainable.
Exactly. That's what will make the peace to be live very long.
I like the fact that when I asked that question, are these things taught in schools? Because when you start to groom it from small, people now see it as a way of life. Find a way to always negotiate out of problems.
Yes.
Discuss problems. I mean, don't let it become a big issue before you start to address it. Some little pockets of conversations, and you know how to avoid it. And of course, that part where I was taking away is don't be a Superman. When you know you have tried all your treaties and it's not working, carry yourself and go home.
Yeah.
Don't strategize. Yeah. Don't be a superhero. Because I don't know, there's somebody that is alive that will tell the story.
Yeah, he said being alive is a success story. That's what doctor said.
So there's no that is take away. Try your best. When your best is not good enough, it's not a failure.
Yeah.
You can go and strategize and come back. But at least at that moment, go away. So that you can even live to say, okay, I did this thing, I didn't work. I mean, you're alive to still tell that part of the story. So it's a good one. It's
a very good one. So conflict destroys lives, but silence and exclusion make it last longer. So real peace is not built only in meeting rooms or signed on paper. It is built when people are heard, when communities are included, and when dialogue replaces distance. Humanitarian negotiation is not about choosing sides, like he said, staying neutral. Yeah. It is about choosing life. Local inclusion is not an option. It is the path to trust, dignity, and lasting peace. If Africa's conflict zones are to heal, those closest to the pain must also be closest to the solutions. That's how we've come to the end of today's episode of Just Africa on Soup News Television. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at Soup News TV and subscribe to the Just Africa show on all our YouTube channel. Until come your way tomorrow, I am Umivi Idolo. And from me and Emmanuel, we're saying thank you for watching.